to miscellaneous provisions from the agricultural. Now, the International Treaty on Plant Genetic Resources for Food and Agricultural, also known as Seed Treaty, aims at guaranteeing food security through conservation, exchange, and sustainable use of plants' genetic resource for food and agriculture. It was adopted by the 31st session of Conference of Food and Agricultural Organization of UN in 2001. Moving on to climate change and agriculture, they have become interlinked in the recent times. Agriculture in India continues to be vulnerable to the vagaries of weather because close to 52%, that is 73.2 million hectares of area of the 141 million hectare area net zone area, is still unirrigated and rain-fed. Now, crops grown in rain-fed area pulses and both Ravi and Kharif are vulnerable to weather shocks. Now, average Kharif, extreme weather shocks 4%, extreme rainfall shocks 12.5%. So, Kharif is most affected, and unirrigated Kharif is also a subsection which has the most extreme temperature shocks and extreme rainfall shocks. So, Kharif unirrigated is the most affected crops. This would be for from the economic survey. According to this data also, unirrigated Kharif is highly vulnerable at 14.3% rainfall shocks. Moving on to extreme weather events also negatively impacts farmer income. Here again, largest adverse effect of weather shocks are felt in unirrigated areas. Yield decreases due to supply shock leading to reduction in revenues. Now, to address the threat of climate change on Indian agriculture, Economic Survey of 2017-18 recommends the following policy changes. Now, these are the recommendations. It is vital to make a clear distinction between two agricultures in India, that is, cereals grown in northern India, the well irrigated, input added, price and procurement supported, where the challenge is for policy to change the very generous support from prices and subsidies to less damaging support in form of direct benefit transfers. And the second division can be made in the form of non-cereals, which is cultivated in central, western, and southern India, which has inadequate irrigation, continued rain dependence, ineffective procurement, insufficient investment in research and technology. Non-cereals such as pulses, soybean, and cottons, there is very less investment in the form of research, high market barriers, and weak post-harvest infrastructures for fruits and vegetables especially, and challenging non-economic policies, example livestocks. Now, India needs to expand irrigation, especially in the backdrop of rising water scarcity and depleting groundwater resources. Technologies like drip irrigation, sprinklers should be adopted to further the campaign more crop for every drop. Now, further power subsidies should be replaced by DBT so that power use can be fully accounted for and water conservation furthered. Now, embracing agricultural science and technology is a need of hour. It is not only improves yield but also resilience of to all the pathologics that climate change threatens to bring in its wake, like pests and crop diseases. Now, building on current crop insurance program like Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, weather-based models and technologies, example using drones, need to be used to determine losses and compensate farmers. Now, climate smart agriculture is another means to cope up with the increasing vagaries of climate change. It involves farming practices that improve farm productivity and profitability, helps farmer to adapt to the negative effects of climate change and mitigate climate change effects. Now, Global Alliance for Climate Smart Agriculture was launched in September 2014 as a multi-stakeholder platform on climate smart agriculture. India, though a signatory of the alliance, was not involved in its creation. Now, examples of climate smart agriculture includes increasing the organic content of soil through conservation tillage, engaging in conservation agriculture like adopting minimum tillage using crops residue to cover soil surface and adopting crop rotation, following a landscape approach in agriculture like integrated planning of land. Now, moving on to adaptation for smallholder agriculture program, it is administered by International Fund for Agriculture Development (IFAD). Now, the program aims to channel climate change and environment finance to smallholder farmers, scale up climate change adaptation in rural development programs, and mainstream climate adaptation into IFAD's work. Now, international years by United Nations regarding agriculture. 2016 had been declared as the International Year of Pulses. 2020 had been declared as the International Year for Plant Health. 22 was declared as the International Year for Artisanal Fisheries and Aquaculture. And 2023, on the request of India, has been declared as International Year of Millets. Moving on to list of agricultural revolutions in India. Yellow revolutions aimed at increasing oilseed production, especially mustard and sunflower. Blue revolution was aimed at increasing the fish production. Golden fiber revolution was aimed at increasing the jute production. Golden revolution was aimed at increasing the fruit, honey, and horticulture production. So there's a difference between golden fiber revolution and golden revolution. Golden revolution relates to horticulture, whereas golden fiber revolution relates to jute. Moving on to silver revolution, it was aimed at increasing the egg production. Gray revolution was related to the fertilizer production. Now, brown revolution is aimed at meeting the demand for coffee from developed nations by growing socially responsible and environment friendly coffee. Now, pink revolution was aimed at increasing the production and export of meat in India. Moving on to geographical indication, it is an important tool for protecting intellectual property rights associated with agricultural products and foodstuffs originating in specific geographical regions. Now, important GI tags in agriculture are as follows. Kashmiri saffrons has the GI tag from Jammu and Kashmir. Manipuri black rice is from Manipur. Gobind Bhog rice is from West Bengal. Darjeeling tea is again from West Bengal. Bikaneri bhujia is from Rajasthan. Khandamal haldi is from Odisha. Kodaikanal malai pondu is from Tamil Nadu. Palni panchmitram is from Tamil Nadu. And Gulbarg tur dal is from Karnataka. Now, AG mark is a certification, a mark approved by Directorate of Marketing and Inspection, legally enforced by Agricultural Produce Grading and Marketing Act of 1937, which was amended in 1986. It assures conformity to a set of standards. The present AG mark standards cover quality guidelines for 205 different commodities, spanning variety of from cereals, pulses, vegetable oils, essential oils, fruits and vegetables, and semi-processed products. Now, the center is in the process of creating for the first time a digital agri stack, which is a high-tech national farmers database that could give government and agri businesses unprecedented insight into the rural economy. Under the program, each farmer of the country will get an FID, which is a farmer's identification linked to land records to uniquely identify them. Now, the database uses Aadhaar-based data generated from key farm sector programs such as PM Kisan and is being built under the National E-Governance Plan in Agriculture. Now, the digital repository will aid precise targeting of subsidies, including fertilizer, cheap crop insurance, and dissemination of mobile-based crop advisories. A unified farmers database will help digitize agricultural service delivery in the public and private sector. The database will connect seemingly simple data points like the number of occupational farmers who avail subsidies, how much land they own, what they grow, which agroclimatic zone they fall in. This data can be further monetized, which means that they can be sold to private companies to monetize them. However, the new digital push in agriculture raises serious concern. These concerns are about the information asymmetry, data privacy, consent, profiling of farmers, mismanagement of land records, and corporatization. That is, as farmers' data will be shared with private companies, which is what we talked about, selling of data. Now, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, that is SAARC countries, signed the agreement to establish SAARC Food Bank. Now, the food bank will help the member nations people in case of emergencies. Each member country is required to contribute either wheat or rice, and the stock is to be kept with the respective government agencies. Moving on to International Grain Council, it is headquartered at London and it aims to foster cooperation in wheat and coarse grain matters. Both importing and exporting countries are its members, with India being included in the category of exporting members since 2003. So India is an exporting member in the International Grain Council. Moving on to FAO, that is Food and Agricultural Organization. It is a specialized agency of United Nations set up in 1945 with its headquarters at Rome, Italy. Now, FAO publishes its report, The State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World 2020, which spotlights the links between food security and nutrition. Now, FAO recognizes GIAHS, that is globally important agricultural heritage systems, as remarkable land use systems and landscapes which are rich in globally significant biological diversity, evolving from co-adaptation of a community with its environment and its need and aspiration for sustainable development. Now, India has this has increased to four. India has four GIAHS recognized by FAO. Now, two of those are traditional agricultural system in Koraput, Odisha, and below sea level farming system in Kutanad, Kerala. Now, vertical farming is the practice of growing crops in vertical stacked layers. It is often incorporated in control environment agriculture, which aims to optimize plant growth. Soilless farming techniques like hydroponics, aquaponics, aeroponics. Now, vertical farming uses significantly less water and pesticides than traditional agricultural method. Moving on to biochar, it is a stable carbon-rich form of charcoal that is applied to soil. Biochar from manures and food waste have higher levels of nitrogen and phosphorus. It offers several advantages like increasing soil fertility, water holding capacity, and crop productivity. In India, cluster bean, which is gaur, it is traditionally used as a vegetable or animal feed, but recently the cultivation of this has assumed significance. It is now widely used in oil and gas well drilling due to its multi functions such as fluid and water loss control, lubrication, and cooling of drill bits, shell inhibitors, and solid carriers. It has excellent solution rheology, stability, solubility, and compatibility with other auxiliaries used in oil well drilling. So, GOR is being used in USA, especially in USA for shale gas mining. Moving on to biofuels, any hydrocarbon fuels that is produced from organic matters in short period of time. It may be categorized as first generation biofuels, second generation, or third generation. Now, first generation biofuels it uses food crops like wheat for making ethanol. Second generation biofuel uses non-food crops like wood, grass, organic waste, etc. Third generation uses specially engineered algae. And the fourth generation biofuels aims at not only producing sustainable energy but also a way of capturing and storing CO2. So, fourth generation carbon sequestration also takes importance. However, biofuel adoption in India remains low due to the following reasons. Setting up engineered algae based biofuel production requires high level of expertise and technology until the construction is completed. So for running that much expertise is not required, but for setting it up, it's very technologically driven method. Now, economically viable production necessitates the setting up of large scale facilities, which may raise ecological and social concerns. Keeping in mind the above challenges, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy released the National Policy on Biofuels 2018. Its major point includes that it categorizes biofuels into basic fuels and advanced biofuels. Now, the basic biofuels are the first generation ethanol and biodiesel, and the advanced biofuels are the second generation ethanol, municipal solid wastes to drop in fuels, and the third generation biofuels. So basic biofuels are the first generation, and the subsequent generations are categorized on the advanced biofuel category. Now, viability gap funding scheme for two second generation ethanol biorefineries has been provided for in this policy, which was the National Policy on Biofuels 2018. Now, viability gap funding we have covered it, expands the scope of raw material for ethanol production by allowing the use of sugarcane juice, sugar containing materials like sugar beet, starch containing materials like corn and cassava, damaged food grains like wheat and rotten potatoes, unfit for human consumption. It also allows for the use of surplus food grains for the production of ethanol. However, it needs approval from the National Biofuel Coordination Committee headed by the Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Now, tensiometer are sealed water-filled tubes with ceramic porous cups and vacuum gauge at the top. It can be useful in providing estimates of soil moisture, as one could save huge quantities of water and energy by knowing when and how much water is required by a crop, thereby promoting eco-friendly agriculture. Now, transplantation is the process in which plant is grown in other places by replacing it from its original place. It enables selective cultivation of healthy seedlings, which results in better crop production. There is better root penetration in soil and improved shoot development. However, many transplanted seedlings do not grow because most of the hair roots are lost during the process. Root hairs. Now, vegetative propagation is any form of asexual reproduction occurring in plants in which a new plant grows from a fragment of the parent plant or a specialized reproductive structure. This can occur through fragmentation and regeneration of specific vegetative parts of the plant. Many plants naturally reproduce this way, but it can also be induced artificially. Now, vegetative propagation can be practiced most of the year and produces clonal population. Moving on to genome sequencing, it is a sequencing of base in DNA that determines the genetic information of a given organism. Learning about DNA sequence can lead to an understanding of their natural capacities that can be applied towards solving challenges in healthcare, agriculture, energy production, environmental remediation. Now, genome sequencing can be used in identify genetic markers for disease resistance and drought tolerance in various crop plants. It will reduce the time required to develop new varieties of crop plants. This technique can also be used to decipher the host pathogen relationships in crops. That'll be it.